ultimately, this would be really nice if I can get all these people that I talk to during the week onto these calls and go once a week as opposed to a couple times a day from different people. That was it's not going to free up any time for me just because, well, I still have that pesky day job.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, if
it's
this
six.
works, you won't.
Yeah. Anyway, it's 6 a.m. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this. I know you got stuff going on your end, but you had asked about what my process is. So I mean, just gonna jump right into that. And if anybody comes in, we'll take it from there. But so I always start my crap the day before. Let's start that over. I always start my stuff the day before, with actually the night before, and then I still get up way early. But the day before, I'm going to gather up all my stuff, make sure all my batteries are being charged or are charged from either the day before or whatever. When I've got enough batteries with me to get to the site, my GNSS is charged up, my controller's charged up. Basically, just all the charging happens the day before. I'll do a little bit of my pre-flight. I'll check my props. I'll check the condition of my drone. So when I get on site, I'm still going to do all that stuff. But this way, if there's anything major, I'll catch it the night before. So that when I get up in the morning, I'm going to get up in the morning, and I've had this bite me in the butt before. I've updated my software in the morning and then gone out to the site and had problems with the update. And then I end up updating it again on site, which is a pain. But, always check that software. Um, and then once I'm on site, if this is regardless of whether it's a continuation of a previous job or if it's a new job, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my GNSS receiver, get that cooking, let that warm up, get all the satellites and whatnot. While that's going on, I'll pull out the rest of my kit, get it set up, pull out my drones, put out my landing pads. If it's a continuation site, everything's just going to proceed with that. If it's a new site, at this point, I'll just go shoot my GCPs, uh, and whatever control my engineer has given me. Once that's all done, I'll come back. I'll set up my GNSS at the base station, um, set it to cast to the end trip so I can pull end trip corrections right off my own GNSS. So I've got a really, really short baseline. Um, Once I've got that all set, I'm going to move over to the drone and pull that out, do all the things we need to do on site. We're going to check the body, make sure that the body is not cracks or anything broken on the body drone itself. Check the props, cracks, chips, anything like that. Make sure there's no problems there. And if there are, we'll address them because I always have extra props with me. And that's the big wear item that we have. And you never know what you're going to find because it doesn't take much to damage those. Once I've got that done and everything's pre-flighted with the physical inspection of the drone, I'll go ahead and fire the drone up, make sure I get a good connection between the drone and the controller, verify that I'm connected to Wi-Fi from the GNSS receiver so I can get my corrections. Once that's done, I'll put the drone out on the landing pad, fire it up, let it idle on the pad for about 30 seconds. And then once it's idling and everything's kosher there, then I'll lift off to about a height of about 5 feet, and I'll just let it just kind of hover there. Make sure there's nothing wonky going on with the way it's flying. Should should be no issues at that point. While I'm doing that, I'm going to look at wind conditions and see if there's any problems there. If it's a existing site, I'm going to go ahead. I already know what my MOCA is, my minimal options clearance altitude. Make sure that there's nothing has changed with that. They haven't popped up a crane or anything that's going to impede my progress. If it's a new site, I'm going to continue on with my hover. Once I've hovered for about 30 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and switch on my controller over to my battery screen and then into my individual battery voltages. And you can only do this with the enterprise units. The R2S, you can't do this. Anything with the DJI Fly app, the Go app, you could still do this as far as I know. I haven't flown with the Go app in a really long time. Um, but once everything's kosher there, you've got your battery screen up. I'm just gonna turn the drone into the wind, and I'm gonna put both sticks up, and I'm gonna watch for battery sag on all the cells. Shouldn't have any sag at all. They should all drop equally. If there's no problems there and it's a new site, I'm gonna fly up and establish Mocha. Hopefully, it's over 122 or under 122. That's my typical altitude that I fly. I can get into reasons why on another call. Um, Once I've verified my Mocha and everything's good to go, I'll go ahead and upload my flight mission to my drone, which has already been pre-planned or from a previous visit to the site, and then just fly the drone and let it do its thing. Most of the jobs that I'm doing are small enough that I can do them with one battery. The other thing that I pay attention to is my flight times. So I've got good PPK data. Not that I PPK anything. Rarely do I PPK anything. But I always want to have a minimum of 10 minutes of flight time. I've got a good enough log of to process PPK. Turn my light back on here. Um, so after that 10 minutes of flight time, I'll go ahead and I'll move into the rest of my flights, which involve my orbits and my panos and whatnot. What else do I do? Orbits, panos. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll shoot my video with my orbits. I'll shoot my panos individually. I'll shoot my stills with my panos. Anything else that I might find interesting on site, I'll may take a few photos of that. But all in all, that's pretty much the process from start to well, I bring it in and land it. Once let's get into that while we're here. Once I'm on the ground, I'm gonna go ahead and open up my iPad, put my dongle in it, and I'm gonna download all the data from the flight and verify that I've got everything that I need on site because nothing worse than having to go back to a job site because you missed a corner of a job site. I've been really fortunate. I've never had that happen. I know guys that have had that happen, holes in their maps because they didn't check their data before they left site. That makes for a long drive. Some of those drives that I have are in excess of 2.5 hours. So you don't want to have to drive back to the site. But yeah, once that's down, I'm going to move that over to a hard drive in and of itself. And that's the whole process. Easy peasy, nothing sleazy there. Yeah, that's basically it. Hope that covers it for you. Why does my light keep going out? Do that. Put that
You talk
on.
about putting all your data on that iPad. Do you ever take a laptop? Because I know all the sites that I fly are always massive, so I always just take my laptop because there's access to like 1,000 photos.
Well, so I personally do not own a laptop. I pretty much run the business off an iPad. And all my mapping work is done on my big system at the house, but I carry hard drives with me. Uh, my field drive is a SanDisk. I don't even know what it's called, but it's a ruggedized drive. So I'll move them over to my iPad and then move them from my iPad back over to this hard drive. I probably could just do that in one step, especially with the new iPad. But in the past, I've had issues doing that with my old iPad. Like I said, I've got the new iPad Pro with the M4 chip, and I can actually. The nice thing about that is I can edit video right from the hard drive where I couldn't do. I don't know if that's a function of iOS 18 or the M4 chip. But yeah, so I mean, my whole thing is that I want to get that data off the drone. It doesn't live on my iPad at all. I'm just going to view it there real quick, just do a cursory glance through and make sure that I don't have, I can't really, there is an app, I haven't found it yet. People have told me about it that'll allow me to upload all my data and it'll basically drop pins where all my photos were taken during the flight so I can see if I missed anything. But one of the things that I'm looking at with when I'm checking my data on my iPad is I'm just quality of photos, nothing's a blur, everything looks good. And I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to that. I mean, if I've got obvious, missed photos, where I've got it's taken a photo and there's nothing in that file. I've had that happen before, but it was one photo, and at the height that I'm flying, there's still going to be coverage there, so I'm not going to stress about that too much. But then I move it over to the hard drive from the iPad, and then once I get to the house, I pull that drive out. I dump everything onto my NAS, and then put that hard drive back in my backpack. And because that hard drive for me after the SD card is my original source of data. So I go through these SD drives, these external drives. I won't go. I go through a lot of them. You know, I buy a terabyte at a time, and the price point's nice. It's like $100, if that. And when it gets full, I just write the dates on it, the start date and the end date on it, and then it ends up in a drawer. But all that data has already been moved over to the NAS, and it's there, and it will come and go from the NAS. If I run out of space, which has happened, I'll just delete stuff on there because either I'm not working with it anymore or I just didn't need it in the first place. At which point I'll pull out my original drive that I captured on site. I transferred to on site, and then I can pull that data off of there. Basically, it's a redundancy for me, because once I've written something to that drive, it doesn't get erased or deleted off of that drive. So that drive, I know for me, it doesn't get a lot of use. So I'm not worried about it failing on me. I've never had one of those fail. So, but yeah, yeah, I need to find that program because people have told me about it that allows me, I guess. If I had a laptop, yeah, I could just, open up reality capture and check my data that way. But like I said, I don't personally own a laptop at the moment. I run the business off an iPad and my desktop. My desktop is a beast because it's a mapping machine. But yeah, I pretty much live and breathe on that iPad. So there
Yeah, I never knew
answers
you
that.
could actually check your data on the iPad or move files
What
around
else
like
you
that.
got, Matt?
I never knew you could run your data, move it from one spot on a hard drive to the iPad and then back and forth. I didn't realize it was capable of that these days. That's how out of touch I am.
You got nothing. That's all good. So it's 6:13. I'm going to go ahead and call this at this point. I'm going to head in. So we'll do this. Give me a call later today, and we'll talk about this, and we'll see what happens here. So I will talk to you soon. I'm going to head on into work and try to get there a little early today for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, I'll talk at you later. I'm going to call it. Have a good